What's up guys, Reese here from reese3d.com. So in the previous video we brought in our model sheet inside Maya, and in this video we're going to start building the character. So to start building the character we're going to start with the head, which is also the upper body. As you can see, our character looks more like a rectangular box. So we can basically start with a cube and start building the rest of the body. I'll go ahead and choose create menu and we'll go to polygon primitives, and there you will find cube. Let me bring the cube up and we can scale it bigger to fit almost the entire shape. Now you can build this based off a cylinder, but that becomes a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to stick to the cube. Now we need to make it a bit longer here. We can either scale it and adjust it, or I can also go to vertex mode, select these vertices down here, I can pull them down. Now at this point I just want to make sure that I'm going to make one side of the model and then I can duplicate the other side. Okay, so to do that I'm going to push all these vertices right to the middle. Now I can press 4 to see the wireframe there. Okay, and I can also use the grid snap so that when I move, as you can see, it actually snaps right to these grid points. Okay, so by keeping that right in the middle, I can just press 5 once again to see the shaded mode. And I'm going to select this face and delete that. Shaking good. Now what I want to do is I want to make all these corners a bit softer. And I can also give a little bit of softness here instead of just making the entire thing to be completely boxy. Okay, now let me just add some divisions here. So I'll go to edge. I'm going to select all these edges. So 1, 2, 3. I can also do this. Select, click and drag all these guys. Okay, so now I'm going to press shift, right click, and choose bevel edge. Right, so that's basically going to make it like that. Now we don't want these much of movement, so I can actually reduce the fraction a bit, like so. Okay, we can also check from the side view how much those movements you want. I can actually just go back, make this a bit more or less. Okay, I think that's fine. When we smooth it, it should look perfectly good. And I'll add a division here. So let's say 2 divisions, so that as you can see, we've got all those corners to be for 4-sided faces. That's perfectly fine. So now if I just go ahead and press 3, you can see that it has a nice smooth edges. Okay, now compared to the top, we can actually make the bottom to be a bit narrower. So let me just press 3. Sorry, let me press 4 here so that we can see the wireframe, and I can just go ahead and select these guys by right clicking and choosing the vertex, select all these vertices, and I can use my scale tool to make it smaller like so. Even up top here we can also move it manually just to give an uneven appearance. Instead of just keeping them in the same line, we can also pull them to different places. Now once that is done, we can actually make the other side of the character. So to do that, I'm going to choose mesh and choose mirror here. Let's go to the options to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. It's all in default, and x-axis is what we're going to mirror, and hit mirror. So that's basically going to make the duplicate, and it will basically combine them into a single object. So now if I press 3, as you can see, that's the kind of result that we get. Perfect. Now if you want to make this to be more circular, you can also add more divisions, and you can adjust those faces. But keep in mind, keeping this flat right here will make things much easier for us to create the eyes and mouth and stuff. Okay, so next thing that we need to do is we need to create the leg here. Okay, so for starting with the leg, the easiest thing is to start again from a cube. Let me just press 5 here so that I can see everything, and I can also go ahead and choose create and polygon primitives cube. Cool. Let me just pull this up, use my move tool, At this point, we need to create two extrudes. Okay, so you can consider this to be a universal rule, and the method that I'm telling you is going to work almost for all kinds of character that you have, right? So to create a leg, have a cube placed right there, and right click to choose your face, select the top face and select the front face by pressing the shift key. Now if I press shift right click and choose extrude face, and that's basically going to extrude like this. And all I need to do is make sure that you turn off keep faces together. And that will basically give us two extrudes. One is going up for the rest of the leg, and one is going forward, that is for our toes, right? So all I can do is just select this guy, pull this down by using the move tool. So that's the move tool. I just press W key to access the move tool faster. Okay, so that way we can actually start to see the leg getting the shape. So let me just pull this up all the way there, and I will basically check from this side view. I can also turn on something called X-ray here. So that will basically show me the character along with the background image. So from here we can actually do an extrude. So press shift, right click and choose extrude face, and that'll help us to scale it bigger. And that way we can place him right there. Now let me just check the same thing for my front view, so you can see that it does not match. So what I can do is I can actually pull these guys a bit closer here. Okay, and maybe I'll make these guys a bit smaller, or maybe just scale it just in this axis, because from the front, from the side view, yeah, here also it is bigger, so I can also stretch it out like that. Now keep in mind the drawing that we have may not 100% match, so you can make a decision about to follow exactly based on the sketch, or you want to make changes by yourself. Okay, so that's your freedom. I'll just pull this to the front, and I'll just push this a little backwards here, so that way you can get the exact shape that you wanted. Let's do the same thing here in the front view, and here I can see that I'm not creating the leg the exact way in the front view, but if you do want to do that, you can actually stretch it like that. Let me turn on the X-ray mode here also, so that I can have a better look at what's happening. And I need to push these guys here, and I can actually push this guy here, and I can do a little extrude here to create the rest of the shape. Okay, so let me just go back to our perspective view, and from here I need to do that extrude. There you go. And from the front view, I will adjust these guys by pushing this vertex. Actually, these vertices, there are two. So instead of just clicking, you need to click and drag. Let me show you what happens sometimes. Most of the first time modelers will have this difficulty. So if I just click here and move, you can see that it is not moving both these vertices. Okay, so this is something very important. So if you want to move both these vertices, you need to just click and drag. So that will basically make a selection, and that selection will move both of them together. Okay, so based on the requirement that you have, you need to choose these different options. So now I want to turn on the grid snap and click and drag, so that basically snaps right onto that point. And I'll do the same thing here, and I'll turn that off. Now I can basically align that to the same height here. So let's just go back here, and I want to press 3 to see how that looks when it's being smoothed. I need to make more extrudes to take care of the area up there. And now I need to select these two faces, shift right click, extrude, and pull this up. Okay, that is starting to look good. Now keep in mind, we're actually going to build the the shirt and the pants with the help of this mesh. Okay, and so the head that we have should basically stay inside this shape. So I'm just going to push this up. So this could be the belt area. Okay, so I'll just bring these two guys down. Basically that's the belt area, and I want to make a little bit of change here. Now keep in mind, always try to keep as less number of faces as possible, because we can add details in any time we want, but if you add too much, then it becomes difficult to remove them. Okay, so try to keep as less number of faces as possible when you start up, and then you can add more later. Okay, so here we need more detail, so I'll add an edge loop here. So to add an edge loop, select the object, shift right click and choose insert edge loop tool. Cool, so let me just do that, and that adds a detail here. I need to either scale it inside or bring it out. Now when you do that, you will also notice that these two vertices actually moved inside, so we need to bring that back. Instead of just clicking on this grid snap, I'm going to press X key, okay, click and drag. Now keep in mind, don't use this middle area, that'll go a little bit weird. Better to use just the axis that you want to snap. So I'll do the same thing here, press X and snap there. That looks good. Now we can just smooth it out and see how that looks. Yeah, that starts to look nice. Okay, so let me just add a couple of details here. Now keep in mind, any place that you want to have a bend, you need to have 3 divisions, meaning that this is a place where we will have to bend the leg. So there you need to have 3 edge loops, right? And here you need to bend the character, you need to have 3 edge loops, right? So let's say we can consider this one as one of the edge loop, but provided that it actually runs through this shape here. So what I'll do is I'll actually add these edge loops, and we can make further changes later. So I'll add 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that starts to look good, and we need to basically delete one of these edge loops because we have a triangle here and a triangle here. So we need to remove those triangles, and to do so, what I'll do is I'll basically delete this guy. I'm actually using the delete key, or you can also use the backspace key to do the same thing. Okay, and or I can also add an edge loop right here. Yep, I think that's better. Instead of deleting these two, I'm going to add an edge loop. So to do that, I'm going to take the same tool and add one like so, and I will also add one from here to here. And now if I add an edge loop right in the middle, so insert edge loop tool, and I want to add an edge loop right here. You notice that it does not go above this, otherwise what will happen is it could have gone all the way up here. So to avoid that, we can do this. And now let's just go ahead and choose the multi-cut tool, select that guy, select this guy and connect them, select this guy and select this guy and connect them. And whenever we add an edge loop, we need to smooth that shape. So let's just pull this out, pull this out. Okay, and this is the left leg of the character, so I can actually move this slightly to the right, and I can also move this guy like so. That's perfect. Now if you want, you can actually make further changes here. Let me just select this guy, move him like so. Very small subtle change there. And then let's start working here. So we can basically delete this one and delete this one. So you can see that we are back with four-sided faces in all the places instead of triangles. Okay, so now because we added those 2 points, we can actually push these guys a bit closer. Okay, and push these guys a bit closer too. So that'll create a bit more softer, rounder result. You can also do that here a little bit and a little bit here. Let's just press 3. Now we started all these process just to get 3 edge loops here. So let's do that. So I can simply add an edge loop right here in the middle. There you go. So now you can see that we have basically 3 edge loops. You can also slide this a little bit, slide edge tool, and you can just move this a bit down. Yep, that's perfectly fine. So now let me just go ahead and select that, press 3, so that you can see we have a nice looking leg. Okay, now we also need to create other edge loops for the other joints that we will have. One is going to be right here in the middle, which is the knee area. So I'll add 3 edge loops. So one easy way to add 3 edge loops is just to create 1 edge loop first, right where you want it. Okay, and then you can also use another tool called offset edge loop tool. So you'll find offset edge loop tool by going to right click, by shift key, and there you will find offset edge loop tool. So if I click right here, and you can see that it actually adds 2 edge loops, one above and one below. Cool. So now just to have a little bit of difference, we can actually push these guys a bit out. Okay, and the middle one I can make it a bit smaller. Not too small, just a little small. Let me just pull this like so. And then I can also push this a bit to the front. So now when I smooth it, it shows a little bit more detail that it is a knee area. Now if you want to show that the character has got a little bit more detail, you can actually add an edge loop here, make it a bit bigger so that the muscle kind of appearance will show up. Now, in my case, I'm going to leave that as it is. Let me just add 2 more edge loops right here. So 1, and I can make it a bit smaller. And I'll add 1 more right about that area. Okay, now we can also do a little bit of slide edge here. So let me just select these 2. Pull this down, select these 2. Just the 2, not the entire edge loop, and use the middle mouse button to slide it up and down. Not too much, I just want a little bit of movement. Okay, and I can just manually place him in a different place if I want. And I can also give a little space between these guys by pushing this a little bit down. Now this is the next bending area, so that I have created those differences. Now if you want to create a toe, you can also create an edge loop here. Okay, and if you want to bend this area, you again need to have 3 edge loops. Okay, so keep this as a universal rule. Wherever you want to have a bend, create 3 edge loops. I just want to push these guys a bit down like so. Good. And I want to add 1 more edge loop right in the middle. If you don't want to create this little difference, you can actually leave it as it is also. That should not be a problem. Let's just go ahead and press 3, and everything looks good except the fact that the bottom looks a bit rounded. So I want to have it a bit more sharp. So what I'll do is I'll actually select all these faces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and do a little extrude here. So That should make it a bit more sharp. Now, if you think it's going too much inside, you can also select all these vertices and you can pull them up. You can basically put them exactly where you want it. Press 3 now. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, now that looks more planted on the floor, more perfect leg. Okay, so now let's start building the upper area. Okay, so this is our belt area. I can also adjust these guys a bit just to fit with the same shape as we have for the body. So I'll use the edge here, push this closer, and if needed we can also create an extra mesh instead of creating the belt from the same object. I think I need to add at least one edge loop here. Insert edge loop tool, let's add one right here in the middle. Now if you are adding these edge loops, you need to also tweak the rest of the areas here. So I need to select these two guys, push them inside a bit. Actually, I need to select all these guys, so let me just till here, select all of them, till here, select all of them, and push them slightly in. Basically to round off the shape. Okay, so I'll do the same thing here. Okay. You can further make tweaks based on the requirement. You can select these two, make them get closer. These two, make them get closer. I think this has already gone too close. These two guys can get closer. Okay, so let's press 3, see how that looks. Let me just add one more extrude here to see it much better. And this could be the shirt area, so let me just push all these guys up. Now at this point, to see how the number of edges we have on both these models, I'm going to turn on the wireframe on the shaded mode so that we can basically see how many lines we're having from there and how many do we have here, just to match up so that we will get almost the same exact shape. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select edge for this guy. So select edge, select 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think that should be fine, or maybe I'll just add this one also. And for this, we're going to create a bevel edge here, same thing that we did for that guy, and I'll add one segment, so that basically creates the somewhat similar appearance there. I think that looks good. Maybe we can adjust the fraction a little bit, and we can basically align that based on the vertex. So maybe not that much of fraction, maybe just a little. Yes. Okay, so now at this point I just want to press 3 and see how that looks. We need to fix this area, that's fine. I will just delete the inside face 1, 2, 3, 4, delete that, so that basically when I smooth it, it does not go in and it stays in the same place. Okay, so that looks good. I think I have a couple of these faces here. Delete that also to make things much easier for us to see. Okay, so now I'll have to pull these guys a little bit out. can also check from the side view here. We select all these guys, pull them slightly out, and we can have this little gap between the shirt and the body. Pull this out like so. That looks perfectly fine. Now, anyways, we will create the belt and the collar and everything with a separate object, which will make things much easier for us to work with. I'll have to get rid of these guys now. Now, to do this, I'm going to select multi-cut tool. I'm going to drive this line to this side, so I'll have to go ahead and select that one, go here, okay, which will basically create a triangle here. We can delete that in just a minute. And I want to do the same thing from here to here, okay. So now this way we will be able to get rid of this edge and this edge, okay. So as you can see, now it becomes easier for us to get rid of most of these guys. So now all I have to do is select all these vertices, make sure that you're not selecting anything from behind, okay, and shift right click and choose merge vertices, and there you'll find merge vertices, okay, or I think merge vertices to the center. I don't know, let's try this one. Yeah, I can give a threshold here. Yep, that fixes that issue. So you can see that we have four-sided faces here, four-sided faces here, four-sided faces here, four-sided faces here. Now we'll have to deal with two triangles, okay, so one triangle here, one triangle here. Now this one we can remove just by adding an edge loop from here to here, okay. So to do that, all I have to do is go back to multi-cut tool, start from the center here, and I can basically add it all the way till here. Or should I push him onto this? Now that will again mess up more stuff, so I'll just drag and drop here, and that way we will now have four-sided face, four-sided face, four-sided face. We can also select it and smooth it and see how that looks. Yeah, that looks perfectly fine, no issues at all, okay. And as you can see, all of them have just four-sided faces. Now we need to do the same thing on this side, and we will basically end up with an extra triangle here, and we can connect that extra triangle to this one. All right, so let's get the same job done here. I'll go ahead and choose multi-cut tool, connect this one to this one, press enter, connect this one to this one, press enter, and then I can basically delete one, delete two. Okay, so now what we need to do is we will go to select vertex, select all these vertices, shift right click, merge vertices there. I can just increase this threshold so that it basically snaps there, and I can just adjust it to fit in exactly where you want it. Or basically I can push this guy inside and like so. Now for the back side, we can actually give a little bit of space. So I'll select this, push this a bit backwards, push this a bit down, and this vertex can also go a bit back. Okay, so let's go ahead and press 3, see how that looks. Press 3. That looks perfectly fine. You can actually turn off the wireframe. Yep, that looks good. Now, what I want to do is I want to turn on the wireframe again. Okay, so we have one little triangle here. We can also remove that by adding a couple of edge loops there, or just by deleting this edge. So delete that, that fixes the problem. I can just push these guys up. Let me just go ahead and press 3, and that's our leg. Now all I need to do is I can make a mirror to the other side. Now before making the mirror, we can actually go to edit and choose delete all by type history, just to clear out all these history information there. And before I mirror, let me just bring the pivot point right to the center by using the insert key, or you can use the D key if you're using Mac computer. Let me just go ahead and choose mesh, choose mirror here, so that will basically make the other leg for us. So this completes this tutorial. In the next one, we will look at how to create the details of the clothes. Okay, so until then, see you, have a nice day.